If you go out there and continue to educate yourself, continue to build the best relationships with hard money lenders, with other buyers, with motivated sellers, and doing some extensive marketing, do direct mail or cold calling, whatever works best for your business model, you can make an extremely a lot of money in this business.
Definitely. Let's get into Jay Morrison, because just for the record, we did reach out to him on numerous occasions before the whole thing. So let's start from that. How'd you meet him? How'd you meet Jay Morrison? We'll start there.
You know, I had the pleasure, and I'm not going to go into names, but I have the pleasure of working with several people who are very well established in the entertainment industry. And I will just leave it at that, who told me to stay away from this guy, period. So, no, I have not met him personally. No, I have never done any business with Jay Morrison personally. No, I have never promoted Jay Morrison personally. But everybody in the industry knows that Jay Morrison tried to steal my identity in my story. So everybody knows that in the industry. So what I'm going to say is this, that Scam Master Jay is not a real estate expert. He is not a business mogul. And I'm going to take the responsibility, not you gentlemen, for saying this. He is a complete fraud. He's a fake. He has never done things that he's telling people that he has done in his life. He couldn't flip a house if his life depended on it, period. And that comes from the real estate OG, Kenny Rushing. If he ever wants a debate right here on your show, I will embarrass Jay Morrison. Jay Morrison does not have the experience. The only thing that he's ever accomplished, and this comes from Kenny Rushing's mouth, and there's a lot of evidence out there. You can go to False Prophets and just Google it. The only thing he has a track record of historically before the Tulsa Fund, which is another different conversation in itself, is scamming people, period. So don't believe me, go do your research. No, this is not Kenny Rushing hating on anybody. I should have been more public and share this information a long time ago, but I didn't. And the reason why is because I always want to see brothers win. I've always been out there on the front line, helping young brothers in the community invest in real estate. You know, he's texted me several times about doing some things, but I was very fortunate that a couple of people told me, Kenny, you should probably help him. Because I've ran funds, you know, I've bought and sold, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate, borrowed over $100 million, been involved in over $150 million in real estate transactions. So my legacy, my contribution to the culture, from speaking at the Essence Empowerment Seminar for Susan Taylor, teaching Puff Daddy's staff at his office through Vasha Dunlap, who was the operator, vice president at that time, to doing Bring Your A Game with Mariel Van Peebles, being on the Tom Joyner show with Roland Martin, being on the Rush Parr show. You know, a lot of people say, well, Kenny, where you been at? I've been taking full advantage of the real estate opportunities because when the market crashed in 2009 and 10, it gave people who are sophisticated real estate investors the opportunity of buying properties at rock bottom prices. So I kind of left the whole interview, social media, you know, speaking on different seminars. I stopped because I want to go after the money, which is buying these properties at discounted prices and building up a real estate portfolio, which I've done successfully. My run from 2010 to 2020 is over with. There's still plenty of money out there for people who want to invest in real estate. And I teach people how to do it every single day. I have over 67 students that I coach one-on-one and hundreds of people on my membership site. But for me, I've been able to accomplish a lot of the things that I want to do. So do I need to hate on anybody? No, I've lived in a mansion for the last 20 years, 4 mansions, literally. And you can Google it and find out for yourself. So, and I got, you know, I'm worth a lot of money. So there's no reason for me to hate anybody. But what I would say is that we are never going to be able to build a nation unless we can trust one another. If I can't trust Sandman, if I can't trust oh God, then why would I give you my money to invest when I know that you have a track record of not delivering on your returns for your investors? I don't have a problem. I can actually literally pick up my phone right now. I can make phone calls in front of you guys and listen. You can listen in. I'm that real. Is literally no fakeness with me. I can raise, if I need $2 million in 20 minutes to wire the money to the title company Monday with the investor not even looking at the property, it can be done with Kenny because I have a track record, 20 years of no fakeness. Anybody, when you post this, anybody who's been scammed by Kenny Rushing, anybody who's lost money with Kenny Rushing, air me out below. Let everybody know I'm that real. None of my students have lost money because I gave them the wrong information. Well, I have 13 students that I coach right now from JMA. 13 students that gave this money from $5,000 to $15,000 who got a book and maybe a 15-minute phone call. And then the guys stopped answering the call for them. What happens, you guys, they don't understand fulfillment. They understand, let me get some money, let me get the money, let me get the money, let me get the money. You have to fulfill when you get that money from someone who's investing in their education. Look at my page. People think, well, you're just trying to go after black folks. I don't get that. I'm going to tell you why. Because I have a lot of white folks and Asians and Indians. I have students from all over the world. Go through my timeline, see for yourself. I have students in Canada, in Sydney, Australia. I got Moscow, Toronto, Scotland, Aberdeen, and Aberdeen and Edinburgh, Scotland. Right now that I teach how to invest in real estate, I teach a lot of people how to buy American real estate from all over the world. So I don't have to just, I can only send a message to my own folks. Now that's my greatest passion. Don't get me wrong, because what's inside of here, I guarantee you most people out there on the internet who proclaim to be a real estate guru don't possess what I have. Okay, we're talking about over 500 to 800 books read on economics, international finance, real estate, personal finance, self-development. I've done it. I've been there and done it. I spent, almost a decade in federal prison. And people need to realize that most people do not give a damn about where you came from. You grew up in the projects. You sold drugs when you was a kid. You've been in a federal prison. My investors, my students, they don't give a damn. You know why they call me the legendary Kenny Rushing? Because I bring the results.
That's right.
And I'm not going to scam you. And I'm not going to take anything from you. And I love my students, So if I couldn't give my all in 2012 when I decided to shut the doors down of the Kenny Rushing School of Real Estate Investing so I could refocus on building up a rental portfolio, because I was buying houses for $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 in some of these Rust Belt cities, Cleveland, Detroit, Youngstown, Ohio. I was buying these houses for cheap. I bought a 351 unit apartment building, public records. I mean, I have nothing to hide. This is no fakeness TV with Kenny Rushing in real life, as Jay Morrison would like to say. But for Kenny, it's real. So for $850,000, I bought it for almost $2,000 the door. So that's my focus in 2012 to 2020. But now I'm back, and the real legendary, the real Kenny Rushing is back. So ain't gonna be nobody stealing my legacy and trying to steal my name and my story, And like I said, everything I'm telling you is factual. You can go and do your research and ask people in the industry; they'll tell you the same thing. Just do your research on when I was speaking in Harlem, speaking in LA, speaking all around the country, teaching in black folks how to invest in real estate. Just look at the message. Look what I was saying. We're talking about 20 years ago. We ain't talking about now. Everything a lot of people are saying right now was saying 20 years ago. That's a fact. Do your research. So with that being said, we're going to keep it a buck. We're going to continue to operate with total transparency, total integrity, and we're going to make sure that when people invest in their education, that they're investing with somebody who generally cares about them, is going to do the right thing. And I don't need the money. I'm semi-retirement. I got enough money coming from my rental portfolios and my gas stations and independent living facilities. I ain't got to work another day in my life. And that's in real life.
Something's always very simple to talk about, especially in our community, is scamming. And when you get a good orator, you get somebody that can sell you the dream, and they make it feel like they're a part of you, we can easily be manipulated as a people. We're loving people to begin with. So naturally, if we hear somebody that looks like us and that has our best interest at heart, so we assume, we'll go ahead and we'll support that. And then we start hearing otherwise, and our brains start playing tricks on us. It's like, nah, they're hating, nah, this and this. We don't know Jay Morrison. We've had some pleasantries back and forth throughout the past. Wanted him on the show, like old guy said, still want him on the show. Don't know the brother. But a lot of people are calling him out. And when you called him out, it made me go, okay, now we got to get this brother on here and really talk about it. Talk about how damaging scamming is and how many people really do it. Because I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, if you've been ever accused of scamming as well, like, has that ever been?
No way. Never. That's why I said, if I've scammed anybody, if I've in any way have taken advantage of any of my students, have lost any of my real estate investors, private investors' money, air me out. They can comment right below when you guys post this. No problem whatsoever. I'm an open book. No private lender has ever lost money with Kenny Rushing in the last 20 years. The only person who has lost money was me in 2008 when the market made a correction, and I lost about $1.5 million from one luxury custom home, was 14,000 square feet. That's the only person who lost money was me at that time, but none of my private investors. I made all my private investors good, because you got to realize that your private investors are the lifeblood of your business. Being able to pick up the phone and have somebody wire the title company or the attorney's office, whoever's closing the deal, within a matter of a couple of days without actually going out and looking at that property because they have confidence in you, that means a lot, man. That's just not a relationship that you are just going to allow to weather away because you decide to do something unethical. And then also, I want you guys to be very mindful, as I've been doing this for a long time. There's a guy who has changed his life, who his name is Matthew Cox. He was on American Greed. I know Matthew Cox. Matthew Cox is from Tampa, Florida. We actually used to buy properties in the same area. Okay. Matthew Cox right now is a janitor after spending 17, 18 years in prison. And Kenny Rushing is a multi real estate investor. So I would say this: the mortgage fraud, the wire fraud, the bank fraud, the not being fully disclosing the information when you're trying to go get a mortgage from a bank. Just be transparent. There's enough money to be made in the real estate investing business where you don't have to do anything fraudulent. Just set up yourself, create short-term and long-term goals. That's the first thing that I share with my students. Your short-term goals, if you don't have any cash to create, let's get you into wholesaling. Let's build up your credit so that you can then go and get a hard money loan so that you can fix and flip a property. And then long-term, let's think about, making sure your credit is strong, making sure you got your balance sheet that's solid, your profit and loss statement, your lease agreements on your properties, that you're allocating properties you're going to buy at steeply discounted prices so you can buy them for a good price so that you can go ahead and get a low loan to value mortgage on those properties. So you got to have a long-term plan. You can't just have the plan that I just want to come up. This is not the next hustle. This is a career. This is, plan ahead, do everything the right way, build great relationships, on your word, act with integrity, and you can do extremely well. There's no reason for you to do anything illegal.
I want to go back to the Jay Morrison thing, and you mentioned the Tulsa real estate fund. Now, I've seen a few videos, I should say, on YouTube, people breaking it down, going into the SEC reports. I know our viewers are going to ask this one question: what proof do you have that Jay Morrison is a fraud or a scam? And how is the Tulsa real estate fund a scam?
Let's two things. Okay. I think it's a two-part question. Number one, I would say, if anybody is questioning his integrity, I would say that you should probably, go to false prophets and listen to all the stories. Here's what I would say wholeheartedly is that I was up against the fence until Tony the Closer reached out to me, and I started to do some research about what was going on with Jay. And we're going to talk about Tulsa as well. Mm-hmm. When I found out about the story about the young guy, Chris, who gave Jay $50,000 because this was a young kid who was trying to get out the streets, who was trying to prevent himself to going to penitentiary, that could have been me. and trusting in this man to help me get off the streets. I didn't have to spend almost a decade in federal penitentiary. I just needed a Kenny Rushing to say, hey, man, do you know you can go buy this house over here or go buy this apartment building right here? Do you know that I can show you how to buy with owner financing and use your cash to go to Home Depot and buy the material, get your crew to go over there and renovate the property, sell the property, get you a check from the title company, and then it's on. Okay? Call for what you want to call it, but that's how it could have been done. I would never, and I've had a lot of young guys. Now, I'm not the guy that's going to teach you how to launder your money, period. I'm not that guy. I am the guy that would give you some great advice to help you get your life in order. So when I heard about Chris, who gave him this $50,000, and Jay just ran off with the man's money, said he was going to involve him in a deal, and he never heard back from Jay for many years later. For me, that was a straw that broke the camel's back, because I heard about all the other allegations, and I knew basically that the guy, was basically trying to steal my entire swag and conversation. I mean, it's very relevant. I told a good friend of mine, I'm not going to share his name, but he's a very established guy on the internet in real estate space as well, that this guy is a fraud from 2.5 years ago. So that right there was really a concern for me, and I feel like this guy needs to really be dealt with. But in addition to that, there's so many other allegations. The NFL football player Muhammad took $200,000 from him, and it just goes on and on and on as far as what he's been able to do. But what's more important in addition to that is Tulsa's fund. Here's what it boils down to. There's a lot of things that Jay did that was highly unethical. Most funds are 2 and 20. It means it's 2% management fees and 20% the back end profit. So if you let's say, for instance, you made $100 million, okay, for the fund. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you keep $20 million. You keep $2 million for that year, and then you get $20 million in profits because that's your 20%. 2 and 20. He's got a 5.5, 50% fund. Do you know what that means? That means Wall Street guys don't have a 5.5 and 50% fund. Most people have a 2 and 20% fund. It's not a 5.5 and 50% fund. In addition to that, I told Jay through text messaging, I still have the text message. I told Jay when he reached out to me 2 years ago, I said, Jay, if you don't have the best back end to make sure you fulfill and take care of all your investors, you're going to find yourself in a terrible situation with the SEC, the Security and Exchange Committee, because that's 15,000 people that you have to provide documentation as far as what's going on with their investment. And that is almost impossible. So you find a lot of people who call the office, who are not getting calls back, who send them emails, who don't receive emails back. Because do you understand how much brain damage that is to have 15,000 investors to your fund? You would almost have to have a staff that would deplete the $15 million that you raised just to make sure that you can provide them compliance and provide them with all the information that they're requesting from you. So he said, oh man, King, King, everything's going to be good, man. We got that handle. And I told him, I said, Gary, you better be careful, because you don't want to get into the radar of the SEC, because as soon as you do, you're going to find yourself in a very bad situation. So in addition to that, I would say that one of the major issues is that Jay Morrison is not a fund manager, and Jay Morrison is not a real estate expert. Period. And I would pay him $25,000 if he can provide me more than 20 HUD-1 statements. A HUD-1 statement is a statement that you receive when you actually close on a deal at a title company or attorney's office. I can show you 1,000 HUD-1 statements going back 20 years in real life. I can show you 20 tax returns from my real estate investment company in real life going back 20 years. So you have to have you have to be a sophisticated guy in order to manage a fund. You have to have real experience. You cannot learn this stuff overnight, because you have to understand how to deploy that capital into assets that's going to generate you first of all, a preferred return that he's paying the investors of 8% before he's able to take in account the 50% profit that he's going to make for the fund, which I think is outrageous as far as this 5.5%, 50% fund, which is craziness. So, he doesn't have the sophistication. He obviously doesn't know how to hire the right people and delegate those responsibilities, or based on the conversation I've had with other people who know him personally, he wants to believe that he knows it all, but he doesn't really actually know shit, to be very candid with you. So you got to know what you're doing, even for me, in the situation that he's in right now, because they've almost depleted most of the money that's in the account. And he likes to say, well, you know what? I'm not paying myself for a salary for Tulsa. Well, you know what? The management fees, the 5.5%, okay? And then the money that's being funneled for marketing fees that's going to GMA, of which he pays himself a salary from GMA, of which they paid Tulsa paid GMA $700,000 for marketing. Do you know how I can send out an email to 50,000 people on my cell phone using Constant Contact? Okay, it's as easy as me. Okay, I'm going to raise some money and send it out on behalf of the Rush Capital Fund. Am I going to charge Rush Capital Fund $700,000 just to send out a simple email, or to appear in front of a microphone saying, hey, you guys should invest in the Rush Capital Fund because we're going to be buying back the block, and this is where it doesn't cost $700,000, but that money is being funneled from Tulsa to JMA. He doesn't receive a salary with Tulsa, but I can best believe you he's receiving a salary from JMA. So he's still getting money. So that's just a little tactic that people use to be able to funnel money from other company into your own pocket. I mean, sophisticated, smart people know what he's doing. The average investor doesn't understand or have no clue, unfortunately, because they're probably not accredited investors. They're non-accredited investors, and that's why they participate in this crowdfund. Most of my investors are accredited investors. These are people who have, high net worths and know exactly what they're doing and have the sophistication. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with trying to pull our resources together. If you do any research on me, I've been talking about this for the last 20 years in the community. I've raised money from a host of African Americans who were colleagues, associates, business partners for 20 years, and we've all done very well. But there's a difference between illegal and unethical. I would say that a lot of the things that he's done with some of these people who he's taken money from has been unethical and illegal. As far as the Tulsa Investment Fund, you just have to wait to see what the government authorities come back to say, because they can easily tell you that, hey, well, there's no further investigation at this time. But, and I text Jay Morrison this exact same thing about a month and a half ago, and I told him that I would really appreciate if he gave Tony the closure his $50,000 that he owes him. And if he did not, then there's probably going to be some issues. And to be very candid with you, it probably only took one phone call to get that whole issue resolved, but it never got made because sometimes people got to hang their ego at the door and just have a conversation and do the right thing. At the end of the day, that's so important. But I hope I answered that question for you. Tulsa unethical. We'll see what happens with governmental authorities. And again, I was going to mention no further investigation at this time. That's what they always say, just to hope that you don't wire the money to some offshore bank account or run away before they come with those handcuffs. So you got to be careful. It's just do the right thing. Certainly I'm hoping that, everything is, checks out as far as he cross off his T's and dot off his I's. You don't want to see nobody go where I came from. But at the end of the day, you got to be accountable and hold yourself responsible when you're promoting a message of empowering the community. And a lot of the things that you're doing doesn't really back up your words, is what I would leave with.